Just before my much anticipated and costly $1,800 night cruise in Norwegian Viva's all-suite haven, Cruise with Ben and David, one of the leading YouTube cruise channels, released a critical review raising many issues and complaints about it. So many that friends of mine suggested I cancel, as they knew that this was the most expensive Mediterranean cruise that I had ever booked. As it was so costly, I was really torn, but in the end I decided to risk it, hoping that they'd been on the maiden voyage and things might have improved since then. This is what I discovered. What is the Haven? Well, it's known as a ship within a ship, a dedicated area for all the suites filled with exclusive facilities behind card-controlled doors. But as I discovered, some of the perks and experiences started even before getting into the Haven area itself. Although when I arrived at Civitavecchia terminal near Rome for my cruise, I found there was no Haven priority lane until after bag drop and security. But once through that, there was a dedicated Haven check-in desk and a lounge area with drinks and snacks, and then a butler escorted us up into the Haven. On entering the Haven, my initial reaction, which remained throughout the cruise, was the Haven looked and felt stylish and premium, although, as you'll hear, it was lacking in several areas. One that didn't, though, was the Haven card-controlled elevators towards the rear of the ship, as all the Haven suites and the Haven facilities are at the back of the ship. It was an absolute boon on a big ship like Norwegian Viva with thousands of guests. I never had to wait for the elevator when heading anywhere, and as way fewer people were using them, it actually hardly ever stopped on the floors on the way down. They offered a really quick and convenient way of getting around. It was a really big plus. In the Haven area itself, there was a large lounge with lots of seating areas, a circular bar, restaurant, and a large concierge desk, and a 2-level outside deck. Here's what I thought about each of these, along with some strange calls, as you'll hear, by Norwegian. The Haven restaurant was open for breakfast, lunch and dinner with indoor and outdoor seating. It looked great and the food was good, but in fact I did not end up using it very much, and here is why. Unlike other suite restaurants I've been in, the Haven menus did not change. It was the same breakfast, lunch and dinner menu every single day. The menus also had way less choice than the main dining room ones, which did actually change every day. So being on a 10-night trip meant repeating meals if I ate in there all of the time. So despite paying that huge premium to access it, I ate in other venues way more than on any other suite cruise that I've been on. Over the 10 nights, half of them I ate elsewhere. I went to 2 specialty restaurants, because within the fare I'd booked I had the free at sea package, which included 2 of them. I went to the Teppanyaki and Food Republic, both which were really good actually. I ate in one of the main dining rooms, Hudson's, once to try the menu and food there. It was really good actually. I then went to the Indulge Food Hall on 2 other nights. I only ate lunch in the Haven once, though I did have breakfast there every day because it was really convenient. Service in the restaurant was fine, but it wasn't particularly memorable, it wasn't very personalized, it simply was just fine. The lounge was a great looking space, but had several downsides, which meant I didn't use it very much at all. The lounge basically had no reason to exist, something that Ben and David also felt. And that's because there is nothing in the lounge. So unlike other cruise line suite lounges, there was no coffee and tea station, there were no snacks throughout the day, so no one ever sat in the lounge because there was nothing going on or reason to. In other line suite lounges with kind of those facilities, tea, coffee and snacks, they become a really social place to hang out, meet other guests and chat. If I did want a tea or coffee, the barman could get me one, but there was a charge for it. So instead I either used the coffee machine in my room, or more often I actually went all the way to the front of the ship to the observation lounge, which was overlooking the bow of the ship. There they had comfy seating, they had tea and coffee on tap, snacks most of the day, including a pretty good afternoon tea spread. The Haven bar again looked good and was busy before and after dinner, but also because it serves the Haven restaurant, drink service both in the restaurant and at the bar during meal times could be a little bit on the slow side. Unlike other cruise line suite lounges or bar, there was no happy hour and absolutely no included drinks. So again, it meant that it didn't really become as much of a social hub. Having the Haven concierges meant avoiding the longer queues at the main guest services desk, as they could answer questions, book the shows, excursions and dining, though actually I could do all of that on the app anyway, and I basically did. So I didn't really use the concierges, as I also didn't find them especially friendly or particularly helpful, and I only literally used them to change dining reservations, because although I could book dining on the app, you couldn't change them on the app. You had to speak to someone, so I used the concierge. Though they did handle some of the really good priority perks. We could meet a concierge 45 minutes before the shows and be escorted to the theatre, past any lines and shown to dedicated Haven seating. Also in all ports, they would, for an hour or two after the ship was cleared, escort Haven guests to jump the lines and get off the ship to go explore really quickly. They also escorted us off at disembarkation at any time we wanted. Now on my cruise, this was a really big plus because we were delayed getting into Lisbon due to a strike. It was, to be honest, absolute carnage around the ship, with people trying to push and shove because they were worried about getting off in time to catch flights. So the concierge actually created a blocked off pathway through the ship that we could weave through to get us Haven guests off faster. So that was a plus. Compared to other suite experiences I've been on, I didn't find the concierge particularly proactive, nor did they make a point of chatting to guests and getting to know us. For example, none of the concierges ever called me by my name because they just didn't get to know me. There was the great looking 2-level deck area with comfy lounges and day beds. On one level was an infinity pool and steam and cold rooms, and on the upper level were hot tubs. Now this level was supposed to be for adults aged 16 and over. However, that wasn't enforced. So often there would be kids up there running about and basically taking over the hot tubs. This brings me to a key issue about the Haven that I do need to talk about. As if you're a traveler like me, this would have a really big impact on whether the Haven is right for you or not. The Haven is not an adult experience, but as I will explain, Norwegian could have done some things that would have catered better both for adults wanting that experience and families at the same time. Of course, it is likely to be mostly adults if you're cruising out of school holidays and on longer cruises. So that was the case on my cruise. It was a 10-night cruise out of school holidays. But there were still quite a few families ranging from young babies, toddlers, through to teens. Of course, this is absolutely to be expected because Norwegian is a family-friendly and family-focused line. In the school holidays, expect a lot of kids. If you're looking for a more adult experience like me, remember, even out of holiday time, as I experienced, kids were a bit intrusive. They were kind of crying, running around, and kind of doing what kids do. Now, as that upper Haven deck rule wasn't enforced for 16 and over, if I'd actually wanted an adult-only experience on deck, I would have needed to pay to go into the Vibe Adults-Only Club. Another missed opportunity, I thought, was the restaurant. There were two areas as you entered. One, a room to the left on entering, and then through to the main restaurant area. I felt they could have had that room on the side as a more family-friendly dining area and then use the rest as a more kind of adult-only area and probably satisfied both audiences, but they didn't do anything like that. But what about my cabin? How was that? I really like my cabin. All that money had got me an H5 category, a Haven owner suite, 12302. I did have the most amazing sleep in there, some of the best that I've actually had on any ship. The cabin felt very plush, it felt very premium. It had a dining area with coffee machine, a seating area, a big balcony, a separate bedroom with an actual double bed, not two beds pushed together, a walk-in dressing room / cupboard, and a bathroom which had both a shower and a bath. It was overall really quiet, although I could hear next door's television in the lounge area, but it wasn't massively loudly, but I could hear it. The Haven suite came with butler service, and because of the grade, it included a bottle of champagne on embarkation, a choice of 3 bottles of liquor because my cruise was over 7 days. It's 1 bottle if on a 7-night cruise. It included water and sodas, an amazing fruit basket that was updated all the time, and daily canapes. The cabin was absolutely the highlight of the Haven for me, but there were just a couple of niggly things in it. It had the most incredibly complicated lights and blind controls, which I never quite figured out even after 10 days. Another style of a substance point is that it had these really trendy railings for hanging your clothes on, but the clothes hangers didn't really fit them particularly well. The scanner device that I used my door key card was kind of a bit broken. It kind of never got addressed and fixed. So just kind of niggly little bits of detail. But I do want to talk about some other aspects of the Haven experience that were also niggly, a little bit strange, because I think that, as you will see, they do impact my final thoughts. Bearing in mind that this cabin in the Haven cost $1,800 a night, an insane amount of money, it did not include as much as I would have hoped. First of all, gratuities were extra, and it was $25 per person per day in the Haven. But that did not cover gratuities for the butlers, the concierge, and although it didn't affect me, the youth team. So that was then an additional charge as well. And it became a little bit uncomfortable because the butler kept lobbying me and stressing that he wasn't covered by the tip. So that was kind of a bit uncomfortable. Secondly, as I touched on, I had to pay for drinks, or I had to buy a drinks package on top of that already high fare. And even then, minibar drinks and room service drinks were not covered by the drinks package that I actually had. And it wasn't included in the Haven fare, as I've already mentioned. Now, I did get a drinks package as part of the free at sea package as an offer when booking, so I didn't have to pay extra for that. Thirdly, everything else around the ship, go-karts, crazy golf, the immersive games, and everything basically that had a fee, still had a fee if you're a Haven guest, the same for every other guest. While Ben and David overall did not think the Haven was good value for what it was, I came around thinking it wasn't good value for a different reason to them. Now, they concluded that pushing your budget to upgrade from a balcony cabin into the Haven was not good value because the perks with all those limitations were not really worth that added cost, which I think is a really fair assessment. Those added perks are not worth that actual difference in price. But I looked at it slightly differently. If, like me, and you're assessing and trying to find the best suite experience for your budget, I came away convinced that I would have had a more special, a more personalized, a more pampered experience, and of course with better dining, had I used that budget to go on a smaller luxury all-ship suite, a Seabourn, a Silversea, a Regent instead. And in return, though, of course, if I did that with my money, I would have had to miss out on the big shows. The go-kart track, the huge program of things to do, the massive casino, the loads of bars, the dining venues, Starbucks even, and of course that really big cabin. But for me, those things didn't outweigh the pluses of the small ship luxury treatment and experience for that amount of money. So while I had a great time and was pleased I tried it, if I have that much budget again for a sweet cruise experience, I feel that I would get better value for that money by using it to go on a small ship luxury rather than Norwegian's Haven. But if the overall Norwegian big ship experience really appeals or interests you, join me in this video where I look at the things that you need to know, starting with a trap that I saw so many people fall for. See you over there.